Hello, everybody. I'm on a little early, just a couple minutes. I'm going to find myself here so I can follow along. If you're joining me, welcome. Let's have a little fun, a little creative escape. I'm just going to pin it to featured. And yeah, I'm going to have to come up a little bit. I want to get as close as I can. I'm gonna have to come up just a little bit. There we go. Making sure my volume's up as high as it can go. All right. That's a better picture. Hello, hello. Almost 8 o'clock. All right. I'm looking around to see if I'm sure I've forgotten something, but we'll make do. I am going to show you a few ways that I make loose, flowy flowers. They're not trying to be any particular flower, but I do like flowers. All right, we got 8 o'clock. Hello, hello. If you're joining on the recording, you can always fast forward to get beyond our hellos and our chats as we're getting going. I just threw some chapstick on my lip. I don't know why it's out of winter time. Okay, so let me just say that the brush you use is going to affect how the paint flows and how your flower turns out. So I've got a few here. Let's see what I've got. I guess I should get some paint out, huh? I don't know that neons are the way to go. I grabbed a neon. This is a new one from Dina Wakley. It's called Watery. I've been using it a lot. So let's put a little watery. And I'm going to turn away, so I might get quiet here for a minute, so I'll be right back. This is also a new one. It's called Sunshine. Let's do some sunshine. I love this one. Takes a while for it to dry, to see it dries darker than what's inside the container, but it's beautiful. It's called Apricot. Here's, I think this is a newer one. This is, yeah, I think it came out with these two at the same time, called Lavender. But here's the deal. When you're making some flowers, you're gonna want some lights and darks. So I'm gonna throw a little darker purple with that. And I have one, but I gotta stand up. Always need a little bit of green when you're working with flowers. A couple of colors is nice if you can. So I try to get a light and a dark. This is the color I was looking for. This is my darker blue, so I'm just going to put it over here. It's called Sapphire. This is also a great green. It's called Olive. Oh, now we're off camera. Let me do this. There's, that one's plugged, but I left a paper clip over here. There's Olive. I think that's a great leaf color. And then here's a dark for my yellow. It's called Mustard. And And then I've got this kind of apricot. This is going to be my darker. It's called papaya. Okay. Then the last thing I always like to do is throw on a bunch of white. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Sarah. So this is a cheapy white, but when I'm working in an art journal, I just don't care. Okay, so I've got my palette out. I'm going to scooch this off to the side so we can see this and my paint colors as I grab them. And again, like I was saying, the type of paintbrush is what's going to affect the type, oh, I got white on my fingers. It's going to affect the type of petal or how this flower is going to turn out. So here's a variety of pointed. Here's a flat. Here's a smaller flat. I'm trying to find if I have an angled one here. And a lot of flats and a lot of the pointies. This one's got like kind of a rounded edge to it. This one's old, so it's very stiff, so it doesn't play as well as it used to. But let's just get going. So, let me get you. In this journal, I did this guy, right? So it's just very loose. You know, what do you see here? I used to, when I was a little girl, I wanted to make all my petals even, right? Close together and, you know, with the same amount of space. But I think the appeal to this is how irregular each of these are. So, hello, Chris. So let's do that one first. I've got some scratch paper to show, and then we'll put a little journal page together. Because I don't have this gessoed, I am going to start with just a little bit of water, and I want you to be able to see it on camera, so I'm going to go with a darker color for now. I'm going to start with this lavender. I think is what that was. So if I do this one, if I go flat, I'm not going to have much of a rounded petal. But if I start kind of at the tip of my brush and turn it, see how that makes an irregular petal? This is my flat brush. Take a little bit of my paint. I'm going to start not on the flat, but on the narrow, then turn it and then pull up. And that's what can help me make these irregular petals. There's a big hunk of paint there. And look at, I'm just putting my hand backwards. And then I'm going to come back. This one's not quite as, there we go. So see, I started at my tip, I turned it flat, and then lifted up. So the next thing I do is get some of the moisture off, and I'm going to take a darker color, and I'm just going to go along an edge. Didn't get quite enough paint there. There we go. So here's my shadow, or my darker. Very imperfect. And then we also want to add a little bit of highlight. So I'm just going to throw a little white every so often. So I've got my base color, a dark for a shadow, and then a white for a highlight. The thing that makes this so forgiving, let's get a little bit, I'm going to use this mustard, and it just starts to bring it to life when you get your centers going. And I'm just using the tip of my brush. But isn't that so sweet? It's a very natural, imperfect flower. And then the other thing we need is a little bit of greenery. I really am inclined to this olive. It's a little bit more translucent, but I might just come here. Let's see, maybe right there. So I'm going to take the point of my brush and then smash it down, wiggle, 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 and then lift back up and pull. And that's my 2 leaves. If I was going to make it stemmed, I would come here, I would press down a little bit because they're a little bit thicker right at the connection of that flower, and then down. So that's one way. Now, this same flower that I showed you with the flat brush can be done with this nice pointy brush. Let me see if I have enough of this purple that I can do it again. Let's see, let's just do another messy one here. So see how they're not the same? Some are longer than the others. Start at the tip lightly and then smash down. And that's probably all I would do there. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Diana. All right, let's come back now with the shadow color, or the darker. I'm just going to throw a little bit on most every petal. Not the same every time. And grab some of that white. Whoops. And in the classes that I've taken to make abstract flowers, the other thing, a definition is, don't go back and like let's say I was doing that darker purple, don't come back and repaint that over and over and over. You saw that everything I did was about 1 stroke, and just let it be. And they say if you go back and rework it, it's called licking it. So don't continue to lick. Just let those strokes stand where they are. So this one's got a bigger center, but even the same types of flowers don't all look exactly the same, right? The gang is all here. All right, let's throw a little green on that one, and we'll call this demo of this kind of flower done. So press a little bit heavier on my brush, and then as I get away from the flower, pick it up a little bit, right? So the tip is, there's less of that brush hitting the paper. So we got to give it a little bit of leaves. Instead of coming right up like I did here, I'm going to come down on the stem. And we'll do one more. We'll come down a little bit. So that's how I would approach those. All right, let me tear this away and we'll do another one. So my next set, I would use, let's see, what 3 colors do I have left? Let's go with our blues. So I'm going to start with my lighter blue, and I'm just going to take my brush and kind of do a half moon kind of thing. A messy half moon. Let's do a couple of them. Oh, I got a little bit of lavender caught with that. That looks pretty. Just do a couple like that. Okay, so that's my half moon-ish. And I'm going to grab some darker while it's all still kind of wet. I've added a little water to it. And I'm going to come back here. Just giving it a hint of dimension. And then sometimes I kind of turn it like that. There's a petal over there. Then I'll come back with my white, and I'll throw a little bit of highlight in there and let that run a little bit. And do it again down here. Okay, I think Lynn and Joni are talking to each other. These, I'll tell you what, there's not a better brush for the price on the market than a Dina Wakley Media brush made by Ranger. I don't have any expensive brushes. These here, no, that's a Dina one. So all my wording has been covered up with paint. But I'm trying to find others. Nope, that's another Dina. This one is not a Dina. Again, it was a cheapie. And I've got another whole container. And then I'm a terrible brush owner. I don't take good care of them. So lots of times I have to throw them away. This was a Jane Davenport brush. Very well loved. Covered with paint. All right, so let's do this. I approach my greenery a little differently, and I like this to get a little dry. It doesn't have to be completely dry. And let's go with a different color of green, shall we? So let's pull this darker green. I'm adding a little bit of water to it. It's heavy body paint. So these are flowers that we're looking up from. So I'm going to take my green up into that flower base just a little bit. See that? And then I'll take my brush heavier and then lift it up, heavier, and lift up, heavier, lift up, and continue it here. This one in my hand, that's a great question. This is a watercolor brush, and it's one that Lindsay likes as well, because I think I bought these when she was coming to my store back in the day. It was $2.99. It is a black silver by Dynasty. It's a number 12, and look, it was $2.99. So it's not an expensive brush. Number 12, and I think they call these rounds because it comes to a point. So again, just adding a little bit of greenery. Grab some of that peachy color. And while it's still a little damp, I'm going to add another little bit of color to it. Now this is acrylic, not watercolor, but you can water it down and get the effect similar to a watercolor. Absolutely. So when this is dry, I would do a little bit of pen work with it. I can do it with a Stabilo pencil, if I can find my Stabilo pencils. Here we go. A Stabilo All is a pencil that activates with water, so it's never permanent. So, but I know that I can drag it in wet paint and it's not going to hurt anything. So what I would do here is kind of just do a scribble. I give the hint of some petals. Same thing here. Just come around and do a little scribble. I come up here. So this is kind of the back of the flower and the front of the flower. The scribblier the better. So now that I've defined those petals, I guess I could do it with this Stabilo again. So I would kind of come up here to give it a hint of the stamens in the center of my flowers. Again, I'm scribbling mostly, but it's got that shape that we're accustomed to for flowers, and so our eyes fill in the rest. So that's the second way that I do loose and easy flowers. So I'm going to see if I can carefully tear this. It's a little wetter than the other one was. Whoops. Ew. Okay. And then let's do another one. So let me go back to my journal. So this was the first one we did. This was the second one we just did, right? Starting in the back and then building up the front. And then I thought we could do tulips, which are really easy, or these little watery things, but they're very close to what we just did. They really are that, just a different version. Your scribbles, you know what? If I said anything, it's that I hold the pencil way back. I'm not down here trying to scribble careful. I'm not holding it tight, you know, with the tight grip. So I'm way back here. And then I think the further back and the looser you hold that pencil. If I try to scribble this way, right, I'm going to get a different scribble than if I come all the way back here and I really relax my fingers. The type of scribble that I'm going to get is going to be a little bit more relaxed. So maybe try a couple of those things until you find the scribble that works for you. So I think what we're going to do now, let's see, where are my tulips? Right here. So we're going to do tulips because I think they're pretty darn easy. Okay, so let's do tulips. I'm trying to think what kind of brush I like to use. Let's start with a flat, and I might go to a pointed. And we'll start with, trying to think of, I think I'm going to start light and then add dark. So this is apricot, and it might be hard for you to see on camera, but I'm just going to do almost 2 half circles here, like a parentheses maybe, a parentheses and a parentheses. Yeah, you can kind of see it from there. And imperfect is good. A tulip isn't perfectly symmetrical, right? All right, let's do another one. I have a parentheses and a parentheses, and I come back and grab my middle. Right? All right. I don't know that I've got enough of this apricot to do one more. We'll try. Now, what I like is sometimes tulips start to get droopy, so I'm going to do a parentheses over here and a parentheses over here. So this one is kind of falling down. So take a little bit off of that my brush. I'm going to come back and get this papaya. All right, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to give it a stroke of color in a couple places, which helps define kind of those lines that a tulip has. I'm just kind of retracing my parentheses. All right, so this one's coming this way, so. And that's as much as I care about my tulips, as far as being an accurate depiction. Now I'm going to bring in some white. Just give it a few highlight places. Ooh, that's a big chunk. Normally I like to just leave it alone, but that was a hunk of paint. Okay. Now we got to think about tulips, although you don't have to be exact. I'm going to go back to my round. Tulips have a pretty robust stem, right? And this stem's going to have to kind of come up and over. The other thing about tulips is the greenery does come up kind of around it sometimes and up into it. Okay, and then they've got the long, kind of wavy. Let's see, I come this way. So I'm going to connect a stem here down to this, a leaf from here down to this stem. So I'm going to take the tip, and I'm going to go back and forth because they're very wavy and very long. I'm just kind of smooth it out a little bit. But there's my tulip leaf there. I'm kind of blending 2 colors of green. Let's do a leaf here. I'm going to add a little bit more water to my brush. And I'm going to connect one to this guy. I like how those two paints blended. Sometimes accidents are the best things that happen in painting. So that's how I would do my tulips. So parentheses, just get 3 colors, right? A base color, a dark, and then a white highlight. And I think I've got a little dark on this. I'm just going to drag that up in there. Look at that. Yeah, so pretty. I knew I had some dark left over on that brush. So just try to roll your paintbrush, see what kind of paint stroke you can make or let the brush make. And that's my tulips. So let's try to put a little bit of this together on a journal page. And before I move into the journal, I'm going to look up and see if you guys have any questions about what we just did. And who hid my journal? Oh, it's way over here. How did I do that? Okay. So I'm working, oh, I'm going the wrong way. So before I'm going to paint, I want to do a little bit of a background. So I may just use up a little bit of color that I have here, and maybe I'll just do a blue background. So I've got this darker blue. I'm going to add some water to see if I can make it go a little bit further. This is gessoed. So again, I don't have any, I want to leave a little bit of it bare, no paint. Just kind of building a field where I can add these flowers. Okay, I've just darkened that. This is my lighter blue. Let's bring it a little bit more. That's a really pretty blue. Oh, that's that new one called Watery. I'm referring to the names for Dina Wakley paints, but that's called Watery. So let's add some white now just to lighten it up. Okay, now I'm going to grab a stencil, which is for me, a next step when I'm doing a mixed media journal. And what I have handy, this is actually a Dylusions stencil. And this is not the best way to do it. A blending tool from Ranger is the best. But I don't have one right by me, so I'm just going to throw some with my brush. Still not bad. Let's go this way. I want to scrub it because I don't want thick lines. I want it to be thin paint and an imperfect stencil. And I like to do 3s, so I'm trying to decide where my 3rd spot's going to be. So I think I'm going to go right up here where this paint is. I wouldn't want to go right here where there is no paint. I want it all kind of connected if I can. So we're going to start from there. And carry it over so it's all one page. All right, so now let's paint some flowers on there, eh? I think I'm going to have to reload, and I did like those purples, so if I can find those fast, that's what we're going to work with. Oh, that was the lighter one. Oh well, all right, let's put it over here where water is kind of dry. That was lavender. This one is iris. I'm gonna put it over here. Sapphire. We've got a good amount of that left. And watery. Put that down here where it's clean. And papaya. Is that my, nope, that's sand. I'm trying to find my apricot. Hang on, guys, hang on. I think I found it. Nope, that's heaven. All right, we're gonna go with, this is gonna be my lighter and this is gonna be my darker, which is a coral. This is not a Dina Wakley. And it's not wanting to come out. There we go. Okay, good enough. And let's reload some greens. Oh, I think we might have enough. We might have enough. All right, so let's start with the bigger flowers first. And this time I'm gonna do them in the blue, blue on blue. It should be fine. Look how much shorter that one is to that one. That one didn't work out. It's okay. There we go. So that's flower number one. Let's put another big one maybe right here. I have no idea what composition this is going to end up with. We're just going to get some flowers on here. Again, starting with my tip if I can, smashing down and coming back up. And I'm going to get at least 3 of each of these guys. Let's see, maybe I'll put 2 of these right beside each other. Can you hear my grandson outside playing? It's a beautiful day, the windows are open. And I was watching him today and he and Mommy just left as I was starting. That's probably all the petals I would do on that one. All right. I'm gonna let that dry for just a second. Let's do a couple of the watery, shall we? I'm gonna start with my lighter. I'll do these in purple this time. So here's one here. Another one. Maybe one over here. I'm trying to think where these tulips are going to live after I do this. One, two, three, 4. Let's do 5. So let's put one way up here. Okay. And we may have to go back and add some because composition is going to morph. Trying to get the darker under there. There we go. Just the hint of where these petal lines might be. That's a big glob there. So just grabbed it and put it over here on this one. And then again, remember, you can lay your brush so it's like a side petal if you want. Isn't that cool? Like a laid down petal. This water's getting really dirty. All right, so now let's start with, this is papaya. So let's put a little half circle there and a half circle there. I think I want it bigger. Make them a little bigger. It's a pretty big page. Let's put one way over here, maybe just a couple. See how just meeting up some half circles. All right, let's make one lean down, right? Half circle, half circle. There we go. Thanks, Chris. Backgrounds are fun. All right, let's go to these guys that are still a little wet. We're gonna grab some white. See if we can throw some highlights in there. Nice. All right, now we're going to go to our blues and take our light watery blue and add it on top of each one of these petals. And you can use one of those dryers. I just tend to try to let these, there's a big glob of paint, so kind of grab that. Let's see, let's do it there. All right, so there's my 3 blues. All right, and now let's add the, oh, I did lighter here. So let's, our definition of the tulips is going to come with the darker. It's not very, it's just a different tone. It's not really dark. I'm going to have to come up with a different color. Let's make a color with white, shall we? We'll make a lighter color. All right, I think that's good, but I think I need a new brush. Here, let's try this guy. All right, so I've just lightened up that papaya with some white. I'm gonna come in, give it some highlights. Get it down there too. So it just kind of gives you that hint, and I'm gonna come up over that blue. So this flower might be growing out over top of that one, or in the bouquet if it's a bouquet. See, I've got a little opening there, so I'm just going to kind of go along where I left that open. And come up here for this one. Good. So let's do some greenery, and then we'll work on some centers and finishing touches. How's that? Let's get stems first. Just see where the stems are going to live. We want this one. Come straight down. They don't all have to go straight, right? So here's this one. This one's got a long way to go, doesn't it? That can go there. This guy can actually come this way. These guys might just be growing this way, huh? I'm gonna have him come straight down. Almost all of them have stems. We're about there. Nobody can be floating in thin air, right? All right, so there's my stems. All right, so now let's put some leaves. Let's get some longer ones for these tulips first. So we just got a hint of tulip leaves. So these guys, if you remember, they kind of go up into the flower. So we got that greenery going there. So again, tip, smash, and down. And I don't even have this connected, but your eye's not gonna, it's not gonna bother you. And then lift up. You can mix your greens every so often. That's nice, just to give it a variety. And I don't want my leaves to take over, right? Let's put a little bit of green up in this tulip. And that might be all I do, guys. We could put a little one down here. There we go. So again, just 3 different ways to make flowers. I threw them in a couple different places. And now I'm going to work on my centers, because I think sometimes that will bring it all together. I'm trying to find for a brush that's got a smaller tip to it. And I'm not finding one. Maybe this guy. Yeah, this guy's good. So I've got some mustard left here. And I liked it. Oh, that's kind of dry. There we go. So I'm just going to throw some blobs in my center. I'm too lazy. I don't want to have to go pour some more of that paint. So I'm just using the edge of the tip, the other end, the opposite end of my brush. I like it. Okay, and that's the basics. Now let's find the Stabilo pencil. Try not to put my arm in wet paint. And let's see if we can just scribble in some petal lines. And now that I've got that identified, I can bring up my stamens. Do the same thing here. Look at that, just made a petal. Let's put our stamens right in there. So see where that dark purple is? That's where I'm going to start. And see how this Stabilo all will go right in wet paint. Look, I'm going to take some scribbles out like that. Aren't even part of it. All right, let's do, we got some over here. I'm going to take this dark blue purple line first. And around here, this is my back petal. Here's my another big one. And my little stamens. Dark here, build a petal. If I don't know where it goes, just do some scribbly. And put the stamen right in there. All right, there's my purples. So later on, when it gets a little drier, you can go back and just give it a little outline if you want. That forgives a lot, right? See how imperfect I am? I'm not trying to trace that exact petal. I'm not even doing a complete trace on every line. And that would be it. So I hope you like it. I'm going to look up and see if you have any questions. And the last thing I might do is throw some white splatter, because I've got a lot of white paint left with dirty water. Let's see if we can make that into white splatter. There we're starting. There, we got a little summer bouquet. All right. Hello, Joni. I think I said hello, Diana. Hello, Julie. I think I said hi to everybody else. So, any questions? Have you heard of the Stabilo All? ALL is the type. Stabilo is the brand. ALL is the type. Comes in all kinds of colors. I've got the black, which I use most of the time. Yes, a little white highlight will really set things off. If I thought this was too dark, I could go in there and paint a little bit, but I think it's okay. Excuse me. I might want that line to be a little more defined with how dark it is down there. Draw your eye to it. The other thing I didn't do is define any of my leaves, but you can. Look how loose I'm holding this pencil all the way back. I'm not even drawing careful. I'm coming up the middle. Is the white? It is white paint. It's cheapy white paint. This is Deco Art Crafters Acrylic. I buy expensive colors of paint. I don't necessarily buy expensive black or white. And I have used gesso as well. But this just happens to be paint. I'll tell you though, I have worked with cheap gesso. And then I finally finished up a big jar of cheap gesso. And I went back to Dina Wakley gesso, and it is the creamiest, smoothest, nicest gesso. It was like, oh, how nice. So remember, that was flower number 1. Remember your brush types, 3 layers. This was number 2. Start with kind of a half moon, upside down moon, and then you can lay your brush off to the side. Add your darker color and then your highlight. And here were the tulips. Parentheses, parentheses. And then it just takes practice. I've made some ugly blobs. A lot of ugly blobs. Well, thank you for being along the journey. Oh, I see a question from Julie. Is the pencil a charcoal type or watercolor? It's kind of between a charcoal and a watercolor. It's not, I think a watercolor has a little harder lead. This is a water-soluble graphite pencil. So it's not the color of graphite, it's the color. This one is black. The maker is Stabilo. And the type, because Stabilo makes different kinds of pencils, the type is called ALL. And I've worked with charcoal, I've worked with watercolor, and I absolutely love these. Good night, Joni. Yeah, it's a really nice blue. That is sapphire and watery, both Dina Wakley colors. I never would have planned it, but these 3 colors go nice together. It's not something I would have put together. They're beautiful. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you, Diane. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm going to stand up and turn my camera off. I will reload this so that it won't go away, and I'll upload it to my YouTube channel as well. So you should be able to find it. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Lisa. Bye, everybody.